I've got to be honest, I was absolutely delighted when I heard once again we've been linked with Manchester United's Wan-Bissaka. It's not the first time, but it's the right time. I go back and I remember when he signed for Manchester United. Now, a lot of people say he's not a £50 million player. And that's fine. And they're probably right. But I also don't think that he's worth as little as a £10 million player, which apparently is what it would cost to get him. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Wan-Bissaka in his prime and in his peak is probably a £25-30 million defender, and that's pretty damn good. And that's not an asset we can afford to turn down at West Ham. If there's an opportunity to get him, then I think we should do so, particularly given that it's a problem position for West Ham. Well, going back, as I said, when he signed for Man United, at that particular point, I was looking at it from an England standpoint. His first season, he was very, very good there. And I wasn't entirely sure at that point who England's best right-back was, but he was in contention. Reece James wasn't the Reece James we know now. I know Reece James is injured now, but Reece James is probably the pick of the bunch. I think it's fair to say, had James have been fit for this World Cup, he would have been right back throughout. I think so. I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. But at this point, I wasn't sure whether it was Reece James, whether it was Trent Alexander-Arnold, whether it was Kieran Trippier, or whether or not it was Wan-Bissaka. That's how good he was. Look, clearly they've all got different qualities. Probably Reece James is the most rounded of them in terms of having the pace, being able to attack and being able to defend. And then I guess Trippier's a little bit like that, albeit without necessarily the pace. And then you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's the expert in attacking, the best crosser, the best passer, that sort of thing. You've got Wan-Bissaka, who probably is the best defender of the lot. And that's, I think, is a criticism. And I say this, it shouldn't really be a criticism, but that is, let's call it a negative, a reason why West Ham shouldn't sign him, a counter-argument when we've been linked to him. I don't think it's a great one. I really don't think it's a great counter-argument. If what we're looking for is that perfect right-back who can attack brilliantly, defend brilliantly, is going to settle in the Premier League, and all of that stuff, we probably can't afford him. At West Ham, we've always had to have somebody who was sort of lacking something because we can't afford. I guess things have changed. We can start spending 50 million, but we can't spend 50 million on every position in the team. You've got to. So he's going to be deficient in something. Paolo Di Canio, let's be fair. Paolo Di Canio was as brilliant as on his day, as brilliant as Bergkamp, as brilliant as Zola. But we had to. He was broken. Let's be perfectly honest with you, because he'd pushed the referee Paul Alcock over. He was broken in terms of he wasn't reliable. He wasn't a reliable name that a top club would have bought because he had the tendency to flip. He didn't turn up for every game. So he had the talent, but we had to go and get him. We had to go and get the version that wasn't a complete version. I think this is the case. I'm not suggesting that by any stretch of the imagination that Wan-Bissaka is as volatile as Di Canio. Far from it. But he's not the complete player in terms of his attacking is not as good as his defending. As I say, we've still got to take that. That doesn't mean he's not good enough for West Ham. He is good enough for West Ham. And let's be fair, our defending's pretty damn shocking this season. I think Wan-Bissaka would provide a really good backup in terms of support for Jarrod Bowen. Having Wan-Bissaka behind him would allow Jarrod Bowen to really concentrate on what he does. Does that mean that Moyes wouldn't ask Jarrod Bowen to defend? Of course he would ask him to defend. That's the way David Moyes is. He wants pretty much everybody defending when he can. But I do believe it would shut off an avenue of attack against West Ham that, let's be honest, a lot of teams are starting to employ. There was a time at West Ham not too long ago when down the left side, our left side was the way to go. Be it Masuaku or be it Cresswell, teams were attacking us down that side. It was seen as a weak point. It was a perceived weak point. Not just perceived, it was one. And teams would attack us down there. I think by and large, I think Cresswell's having a good season now. I think we didn't have necessarily that weakness there last season, apart from in the very, very top games when Let's be fair, Cresswell was exposed and, he picked up a couple of red cards in the knockout rounds in Europe. But by and large, most of the season, it wasn't always through there. I do feel right back has started to become the way that we've attacked us. And I sort of chart it back, and you might see this differently, to a game a couple of seasons ago where Marcus Rashford tore Vladimir Coufal apart. I think since then, we've really struggled to get everything going. There's been games where Ben Johnson has played really well in that position, but again, he seems to lack a little something going forwards. There's a bit more balance to Coufal's game, but he's struggled to find the form that he had when he first joined. And I think someone like Wan-Bissaka, I think it's too good an opportunity to miss. Sometimes players are just out of favour with a manager. A club changes manager and that player is out of favour. It does not necessarily mean that they're a bad player. Far from it. I mean, the history of football is littered with examples of a new manager coming in, not fancying a player, and they go on and they do well elsewhere. That's absolutely fine. I really think we should take advantage of it. They're not in a great position, I think, Manchester United. Do they want that player hanging around? Possibly and possibly not. I haven't heard any indication at all that he's a bad influence on the training ground. You know what it's like sometimes you drop a player's not involved in the first team, and they make themselves a nuisance. They cause friction within the squad. They let it be known that they're unhappy. I haven't heard any of this stuff about Wan-Bissaka. That being said, why would I? It's not like I check the Man United news every day. But that, again, says something about his character. But I do remember this player at Crystal Palace, and he was absolutely brilliant. By the way, I feel like I'm damning him with faint praise. This is not to say that Aaron Wan-Bissaka can't attack. I think he can. I think he's pretty good at it. I think he's okay. Is that the main facet of his game? No. The main facet of his game is defending. And he is so good at defending. I mean, he has got a thou shalt not pass attitude to defending. He's very, very good at it. He times a slide tackle absolutely impeccably. And the biggest thing I can say about him was that when Man United signed him for 50 million, there wasn't a great chorus of people saying Man United have massively overpaid. He was perceived to be one of the brightest young talents in the Premier League. He was excellent at Crystal Palace. And as I say, when he came in at Manchester United, he started off and he played really, really well. It basically, his face doesn't fit. Oh, let's just say that's just a terrible term, isn't it? His style of play doesn't fit what Ten Hag wants him to do. He's very versatile as well. Can he play right wing? No, he can't. But David Moyes likes to play in a back three. This guy can play on the right side of a back three. He really, really can. He's got great, as I say, he's got great timing at his tackle. He reads the game really well. He's a really good athlete. He's fast. He's strong. He's a good size. There's a lot to like Aaron Wan-Bissaka. In fact, opportunities to sign players for much less than their market value come around very seldomly, particularly at the moment when the price of it seems like everybody is inflated. I don't mind the experiment for Thilo Kehrer at right back. I really don't. I wanted to see it because we were having problems at right back. I wanted to see it. Now I don't. I've seen it. Now I've seen it. I've had enough. I think Kehrer is going to be a good player. 10 million, Kehrer's a good player for West Ham. And I think it's easy to look back at what he did badly at right back, but then forget what he did ever so well at centre back. I think with the right partner alongside him, he's going to be a fine player. I don't think Germany have got it that massively wrong. I don't think Paris Saint-Germain got it that massively wrong. We're not dealing with a terrible player here. Far from it. As a right back for West Ham, though, no. Vladimir Coufal is a right back for West Ham in the long term. No, he's only got 6 months left on his contract. Although, as you might have seen if you watched my Patreon video on Coufal yesterday, I do think he seems to be playing well enough in a couple of mid-season friendly games that David Moyes may well wish to hang on to him rather than try and offload him. But I did that video before I was armed with the knowledge about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I'm really pleased that we're back in for him. Really pleased. It's come from 2 different sources. Funny enough, I was reading it now off the OneFootball app, which funny enough, I've forgotten to do the OneFootball promo in this video. I'll do it again tomorrow. But I see Ex-WHUEemployee. It's on a couple of the websites on Football Fancast. There's enough reports there for me to, and a couple of newspaper articles as well, for me to think there might be something in it. We've got to get in there. We've got to get it done. A signing like that makes a difference between, and I hate talking about relegation. I really do. we need to sort it out on both ends of the pitch. We need to sort out our defence. We need to sort out our attack. We need to get our attack scoring goals. We really do. But I think we do have goals in the team. I think Bowen starts scoring again. Scamacca's got goals in him. We hope David Moyes can sort something out of Paqueta. Ben Rama's already in good form. I think we've got enough there to score some goals. The question then becomes, can we keep things tight at the back? And I'll tell you something now. With Wan-Bissaka in the team, our defence is infinitely better.